Welcome to the Rap Soul Podcast, where we dive deep into the world of music that moves our hearts and gets our feet tapping. This is the intersection of rap and soul music from the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. We appreciate you for listening. Share this podcast with a friend or family member who loves music as much as you do. The podcast is hosted by 12 Kyle. Next up, the Rap Soul Podcast.
When you talk about cultural impact, Drake is not in the same league as the Notorious B.I.G., Tupac, and Jay-Z. I don't necessarily know how or why ChatGPT would put him there, but based on some of the things as far as like cultural impact, his relevancy now, I could see that. Personally, again, I wouldn't put him there, but that's what Chat said. When you ask ChatGPT who's the greatest rapper of all time, and they put it in the category of the greatest right now, there's only one name that came up, and that is none other than Welcome to another edition of the Rap Soul Podcast. I am your boy 12 Kyle. I want to thank you all for tuning in as you do each and every week. Again, this is the Rap Soul Podcast. This is the intersection where we have discussions about music, more specifically artists from the 80s, the 90s, and the 2000s when it comes to rap, hip-hop, soul, and R&B. Simply put, folks, this is the best music podcast that you have never heard until right now. Again, I want to shout out everybody who is watching on YouTube. Man, check this out. So I'm messing around the other day on my computer and on ChatGPT. I found that ChatGPT, for the most part, has been very useful. It's been able to help me actually with the podcast as far as some of my graphics and stuff. So you've seen some changes as far as the cover art. I'm not one who's going to ever use ChatGPT for how can I put this? Creation of a podcast, because all of my ideas are my ideas. I don't need a computer to help me formulate my ideas. But I will say ChatGPT has helped me as far as the artwork. So I'm messing around the other day and I was thinking, about the Rap Soul Podcast. And I said, you know what? I should probably ask ChatGPT a random question. And the question was, who is the greatest rapper of all time? And what I found was that the response, while it was honest, it was very interesting also, because the thing that I will maintain is if you ask 10 people who they think the greatest rapper of all time is, you might get 12 different answers. Because there's no definitive answer. And you guys know me by now. I always preface these things when you're talking about the greatest by trying to establish some type of criteria. Well, in this case, I'm not using any criteria. I just asked it straight up. Hey, who's the greatest? And what I found was the feedback or the answers that I got were very interesting. Some were a little surprising. Others were a little confusing. And I'll get to that in just a second. But I wanted to share with you some of the results that I got. Here's the thing. If you force ChatGPT to weigh in on the greatest rapper discussion, they're going to break it down by that particular rapper's full resume, lyrics, longevity, influence, which is hard to measure, catalog, impact, which is also hard to measure, consistency, versatility, cultural reach, which is extremely hard to measure. And when they do that, there's one name that usually appears at the top, and that is none other than, wait for it, Sean Corey Carter. But what I noticed is in my search is that the answer changes depending on the criteria. And I want to talk about that a little bit. It'll change based on the criteria, based on whatever you feed it. And so while ChatGPT gave me a solid answer as to whether or not they thought this particular person was the greatest rapper of all time, it also gave me some category entries. So I want to cover that with you guys as well. If the category is who is the greatest lyricist of all time, according to ChatGPT, the people's names who come up in no particular order: Nas, Black Thought, and Rakim. Now, you really get no argument from me on this. I personally think Rakim's the greatest lyricist of all time. I have Nas at a close second, and at this point, I'm not even sure Nas may be in the midst of possibly passing Rakim, as crazy as that sounds to me. So they've got two of my top two. And Black Thought, supreme lyricist. But if the category is about being a lyricist, and folks, there's a difference between a rapper and a lyricist. I wish I had time to talk about it. Maybe that's another episode. Maybe that's another podcast. Who knows? But if you ask ChatGPT who's the greatest rapper of all time, and then they say if the category is greatest lyricist, they're going to give you Black Thought, Rakim, and Nas. Hey, listen, you get no argument from me, right? On the list of who's the greatest rapper of all time, according to ChatGPT, if they break it out into the category of greatest overall catalog, here are the names that come up: Kendrick Lamar, Outkast, Kanye West, and Jay-Z. Now, there's obviously a cheat code here because Outkast is, as a group, two members. So it's Big Boy and Andre 3000. And they have a phenomenal catalog. I don't think I'm stepping out of bounds by saying that. But it's 2 against 1 in this case. Kendrick's catalog is incredible. Kanye's catalog is dope. Jay-Z, it's there. It's in the ballpark. I don't necessarily have a problem with this. I don't know necessarily if you can add Outkast as a group. If you said Andre 3000 or if you said Big Boy, different story, right? But this is saying Outkast. So I'm just going to roll with what ChatGPT said. So they said Outkast, so we're rolling with Outkast. I don't really have a beef with this. Again, I don't personally, there's no way that I would put Outkast as a group in this, because as a group, now if you say Andre 3000, okay, then now you're talking, or if you say Big Boy, different story, right? So I'm not mad at that. But it's interesting how ChatGPT, will kind of, move the system or move the needle for the discussion. Okay, so if you ask ChatGPT who's the greatest rapper of all time, and they break it out into the category of greatest technical rapper, a couple of names come up. Again, no particular order: Eminem, the aforementioned Andre 3000, and Lupe Fiasco. I don't know about Lupe. In fact, let me just, no. I really like Lupe. I think he's dope. He's very technical. Is he the most technical rapper of all time, or at least in the top 3 of technical rappers of all time, however you define a technical rapper? No. Top 10, top 15? Okay. Top 15. I think top 15, top 20, I think that's fair. But again, it's all subjective, because wherein I say no, there may be some of you who are going to say, hell yeah, man, Lupe's top 3, top 5. I mean, I guess I'm not going to argue with you. So that's that. I don't have a problem with Eminem. Don't have a problem with Andre 3000, because it says technical. Whatever or however you deem anything to be technical. Again, this is ChatGPT, so we gotta roll what we got, right? So that's that. If you ask ChatGPT about the greatest rapper of all time, and they break it out into a category of the greatest cultural impact, they give you a few rappers in no particular order: Tupac Shakur, the Notorious B.I.G., Jay-Z, and Drake. I'll just be honest. One of these kids shouldn't be on this list. He is extremely influential, particularly for his generation. You can make a case that he's the best rapper of his generation, and he's had that title for the better part of the last 10, maybe 15 years, right? However, when you talk about cultural impact, Drake is not in the same league as the Notorious B.I.G., Tupac, and Jay-Z. He's just not. And so I don't necessarily know how or why ChatGPT would put him there. But based on some of the things as far as like cultural impact, his relevancy now, I could see that. Personally, again, I wouldn't put him there, but that's what Chat said. When you ask ChatGPT who's the greatest rapper of all time, and they put it in the category of the greatest right now, there's only one name that came up, and that is none other than Kendrick Lamar Duckworth of the current era. It's hard to argue. I don't know necessarily that there's anybody hotter or has been hotter than Kendrick Lamar over the last 3 to 5 years. And that's kind of weird to say, because he hasn't put out any material probably in the better part of the last 2 years. Then again, he hasn't had to. We know what this last run has looked like. I'm not mad at that answer. If you ask ChatGPT based on, a search of who's the greatest rapper of all time, and they put it in a category, and the following category is greatest producer / rapper combo, there's only one name that comes up. And that is none other than Kanye West. And as far as producer rappers, you'd be hard pressed to find anybody bigger than Kanye at this point. So I don't have a problem with that. According to ChatGPT, when you ask them about the greatest rapper of all time, and they put it into a category of greatest pure MC, yes, they put it in a category of greatest pure MC, there's only 2 names that came up: the aforementioned Nas and Rakim. And it says specifically Nas or Rakim, meaning that even they could not decide. I mean, it's like flipping a coin at this point. I mean, this run that he's been on is crazy. The run with Hit Boy, and then this new album with Primo, Light Years. and he arguably released the greatest rap album of all time in Illmatic back in 1994. I could see that. I could see that. So no argument there. When you ask ChatGPT who's the greatest rapper of all time, and they break it out in the category of the ChatGPT consensus top 5, there are 5 names that come up. At number 5, Andre 3000. At number 4, Eminem. Number 3, Kendrick Lamar. Number 2, Nas. And number 1, Jay-Z. I mean, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. I think the biggest thing is that you got to understand that this is just what ChatGPT is saying. There's no right or wrong answers here. But what I did find out is that probably the better debate question might actually be, what matters most when deciding the greatest rapper alive? And that's probably a conversation that we probably all should have. What matters most? Is it longevity? Is it album sales, which I think is terrible, but that's beside the point? Is it impact, which is hard to measure? Is it lyrical ability? What is it? What matters most when deciding the greatest rapper alive? Because fans rate it based on lyricism, hits, storytelling, influence, longevity, albums, sales, cultural impact, and it's very different. And it's very hard to kind of figure out what's real and what's not. And if we're being honest, ChatGPT doesn't know. None of us know for a fact. It's all opinionated. It's all biased. And I mean, it's something that keeps the discussion going day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, because there's no way that you can definitively figure this out. The thing that I found out in conclusion about that search is that ChatGPT knows probably about as much about it as we do. And a lot of the information is based off of what it gets from searches and how it's programmed. So it's really not that much different from, me and you arguing on Twitter about it. And I'm never going to argue with people about it. Your opinion is your opinion. Mine is mine. But yeah, fans are going to rank it based on lyricism, hits, storytelling, songs, influence, longevity, albums, sales, cultural impact, amongst other things. And it's always something different. And because it's always something different, honestly, that's why hip hop debates never, ever end. And we're cool with hip hop debates never ending, because what else are we going to talk about? What else are we going to argue about? And I don't think ChatGPT helped. But one thing it did do, it kind of gave you some criteria. And as long as you got some type of criteria, I think you're okay. But just remember, hip hop debates never end. And that's probably why we do it all the time. That's going to do it for me. Thanks again for checking out this edition of the Rap Soul Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast. We drop new episodes weekly, every Thursday. Also, don't forget about the flagship station, the 12 Kyle Podcast. We drop new episodes there every Thursday as well. While you can find the podcast on all streaming platforms, I encourage you to go to the website. The website is the rapsoulpodcast.riverside.com and the 12 Kyle podcast.riverside.com. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for me. I am your boy 12 Kyle. I will catch you guys next time. 5,000.
Thank you for listening. This concludes the episode. Be sure to subscribe to the Rap Soul Podcast. You can find the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Follow the podcast on social media. And feel free to continue this discussion on our Reddit page. More importantly, share this podcast with a friend or family member who loves music as much as you do. Until next time. 5,000.